good evening. What an amazing, what an awesome night that we have gathered here, the Well Show, where we always meet, encourage, empower, and challenge one another to grow. It's my joy always to have you tonight. And it's always my joy to partner with you. So welcome so much to our night show. I know you're blessed. I hope you're blessed. I know you're doing well. May God continue taking care of you. May God continue protecting you, even as we continue building one another to become better, even as we continue helping one another to navigate in the lines of life and also becoming better and understanding our purpose. So karibu sana. Let us know where you're watching us from. Let us know how the video is. Let us know how the sound is, and kindly drop a comment there. Always, it's our joy when you share, not because we want to trend, but because we want to reach as many people as we can, because we believe wisdom is power, information is knowledge, and it's power. So when you create this information available to others, you're also helping them to shape their life and also to be encouraged in this life. So karibu sana. Let us know where you're watching us from. Let us know how the video is. Let us know how the sound is, and we know we're going to have an amazing night here at the Well Show. Asante sana, karibu sana. I want to recognize those who have come in. Thank you, Tony Kerathimo, for coming. God bless you. Thank you, my sister Jane. God bless you. They're from Kasarani. God bless you. Continue serving the Lord. Thank you, my dad, all the way from Magogoni. Thank you, Simon. God bless you. Say hi to my family on the other side. Baraka sana. Favor, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, John, for coming in. God bless you. Thank you, Sam, our producer behind the camera, and the great job that you are doing. Karibuni sana. Make sure you're sharing this post, you're reposting it, and someone. Yes, thank you, Sam, for confirming that the sound loud and clear. We really appreciate that, because now we can be able to flow without any fear that maybe could having an inch on the sound. So karibuni sana. Make sure you are tagging, make sure you are highlighting, so that we'll be able to have as many people as possible coming in as we flow together. So thank you. Now let me get into our night's discussion, and today we want to look at a topic that came heavily in my heart. Last week we were looking on navigating, or rather how to face your fears, and someone has been commenting on my page that we need to redo that, and I'm hoping soon I will be able to do a part 2 of it. But from it, someone told me, Sam, one of the greatest things that has always limited us to moving on, it is the limitation that probably are there, and tonight we want rising above limitations, because limitation will be there in life, and I want to admit to all of us that one thing you need to underline: this life that we are living, in one way or another, in one day or another, in one year or another, there are moments, challenges will come your way. There are moments, challenges, disappointment, frustrations will come in this life that we live. There are moments you'll feel like giving up. It's the only option you have. There are days when you'll sit down and feel like giving up, and if there is a way that you pray, and the word, the ground to open and swallow you, and that become the end of your life. There are those days that will come, me included. There are times when you feel like it is too much happening in your life, and you're wondering, how can I be able to withstand all this pressure? So when we have these forums, just to remind you that life will not be getting easier, life is not becoming simpler, but there is a way we can be able to build ourselves, and making sure that even those things that parade themselves, present themselves as a reason of giving up, there is a way we can be able to rise up again and move on. Because I've said time and again in this show that success and failure, both of them, they happen in the place of doing. And if one happen, it is not the end of life. When you succeed, it doesn't mean that is the end of life. It means there is more work need to be done, either to maintain the success, or to build up that success, or to improve that success. If you fail, it is not the end of life, because it means you have learned a different way that you could have not done it, and you can repackage yourself, you can rebrand yourself, and try another day, because we have to keep doing it until we get it right. And that's the reason why we're here to tell you, sometimes life will give you reason as to why you feel you can never go beyond that level. And that moment you feel like you can never go beyond that level, that obstacle, that challenge, that disappointment sometimes becomes a limiting factor. it becomes to limit you. It comes to show you cannot progress. And there are things that will come into your life and they will define, or they will show you how you cannot progress, how you can never become better beyond that point. And that's what will be deconstructing tonight. Those things that have always been there in our life, how can we deconstruct them? How can we be able to bring them down and rise above them? Because we have the ability and the capacity. Now, when we talk about limitations, when we're talking about limitations, these are obstacles, these are challenges that parade themselves like a blocks. They tell you cannot go beyond this place. When you have a limit, it says you cannot go beyond this place. There are things will come into your life and they will determine like you cannot progress from here. Either it is career-wise, financial, even health-wise. There are things will parade themselves. Their situations will come and parade themselves. Their relationship will die and they're like, you feel like it's a limit. I cannot progress from here. Because where there is limitation, there is no progress. Where there is no limitation, then it means there's no movement. Where the limitation, it means there is no productivity. Like you can never go beyond this place. There is a block. And the things will come, they will hit you so hard, and you feel like they have put a block in your life, and you feel, me from today, I don't want to think beyond this life, I don't want to think beyond this point, and I want to say this is the far I can come. And I will tell you this, most of the time when limitations come into your life, what they do, they alter your capacity and your ability. Because when something is you are limited to this level, it tells you you don't have a capacity beyond these points. It tells you you don't have any ability beyond this point. That's why you're limited. Now we want to see with these limitations and how we can be able to break them, and then ask ourselves, are they real? Are they tangible limitations? Are they things that probably they can give a verdict about our life? So we want to look at that and see how can we be able to rise above limitation. And I want to tell you this. One of the greatest limitation we have, it is your mindset. It is your mind flame. It is your attitude. It is the way you think. That if you can be, success and failure, before it becomes outward, it must be negotiated, it must be pictured, it must be done within the self. That's what the Bible says, Proverbs 23:7, as the man thinketh, so he is. The greatest and the powerful tool that God gave a man, it is the power of mind. Most of the limitations that we are going through, before they become out, or rather before we face them outward, there are so many blocks that we either have created ourselves and we have allowed ourselves to live in our minds. Because success is manufactured in the mind. Failure is also manufactured in the mind. Whether real or imagined. Now you need to understand this, that work, or rather what hands do, it must be directed, it must be connected to your mind. So we'll be able to say what your hands do is an expression of what is in your mind. What you can overcome, it is what within your mind. So that power, that ability that is manifested physically, it is manufactured in your mind. So tonight, if there is any obstacle you need to rise above, it is yourself. Because the greatest obstacle to your success, it is your mind. The greatest entertainer to failure in your life, it is yourself. Because your mind has the ability, has a capacity. That's why you find your mind can go as far as you think. Your mind can go as far as, because there is no boundaries in your mind. So those boundaries we keep putting in our mind, eventually they are manifested physically. So if you want to rise above any obstacle, are you rising any obstacle? We're going to mention 4 or 5 obstacles that we need to, but sometimes they hit us so hard. But the bedrock of overcoming any limitation, it is your mind. If you wake up in the morning and tell your mind, today I'm going to overcome, and I'm telling you, you're going to overcome. If you wake up in the morning and tell yourself, it is not possible for me today, anything that you manufacture in your mind, believe you me, your hands, your body, your eyes, your ears, they're going to work all together collectively to fulfill that attitude that you created in the mind. That's why we're here to tell you, there need to be a shift. There need to have a paradigm shift in terms of our mindset, so that we start creating greatness. We start creating power within ourselves. That mountain you're seeing, they are financial mountains, business mountains, relationship mountains. They are first conquered in the minds. If you conquer it in minds, it doesn't matter how how long you're going to struggle physically, but eventually the tenacity, the power to keep moving on, it is generated within. So once you work on your minds, once you start convincing your minds, I can overcome this, I'm telling you, you'll overcome it. Let me tell you this. Most of the time, opportunities that we have seen in life, they never presented themselves as opportunity. They presented themselves as obstacles, challenges, disappointment, and frustrations. And the attitude we created towards handling them, determines what we got out of it. There is no any day, probably 80-90%, you'll ever get an open opportunity. Most of the time, any opportunity comes into your life, it is always a challenge facing you. If you're bold enough, if you're strong enough to face it, if you're strong enough to face it head on, and you're able to work on it, you realize it was an opportunity. Any moment a challenge comes into your way, it will always present itself as a challenge to limit you. But if you rise above that challenge, there is an opportunity that usually comes. And that's what you need to understand, that even those obstacles we have found ourselves in, if you look at them very critically, there is something within us that can turn, that can change that limitation to become an opportunity for us. And that's why I'm saying, if there is something we need to work on, before even we start talking about the environment, before talking about other people that have created certain obstacles, the greatest of all that we need to overcome, it is the place of the mind. If you work on your mind, if you are positive, if you believe in yourself, if you believe you're not a copycat, anything that you believe in, you can achieve it. And that's why I always say this, that we have work to do to make sure that our mind, it is built. You invest in your mind, because your mind will determine what you can overcome in life. So the first obstacle that you need to work on, it is what I've called the within obstacle. And that has to do with our attitude, has to do with our mind, our mind frame, our thinking patterns, what we believe in, what we know we can, because we have to keep convincing ourselves that it's possible. I hope I'm clear on that. Then number two, the within that you need to start doing, you need to always speak positive to yourself. The positive words that you create. I always say this, life is a creation of words. Even God created everything through words. So he spoke, let there be, and there was. Our future, after thinking and having positive, there is a need of aligning a positive mind with the positive words. You need to speak positive words. You need to let the spirit know, you need to let the world know that I can do this. Speak positive towards your life. Speak positive towards your direction. Speak positive towards your vision. Because those words, they become like fuel. They ignite the passion within you. They ignite the motivation. They ignite the courage to face that thing that you feel will put you down. Always, speak positive. Remember we said last week that one way of overcoming fear is speaking, having a self-me meeting. Have that place when you have a self-meeting and you're telling yourself, you know what? I know here there is a huge mountain. I know here there is a there is a ditch that I need to jump. There is a hole that I need to jump. There is a certain thing that I need to do. There is a project that I need to face on, but I don't know how, but I'm believing. You start psyching yourself, you start encouraging yourself. And eventually you realize how much you have, how strong you are when you start speaking these positive words. The greatest of all is when you can encourage yourself.
You know, sometimes we sit down and we are waiting for people to come and encourage us. Sometimes we sit down and we are waiting for people to come and show us the way. And sometimes we sit down and think that people will come believe in us. And actually, majority of time, they are also looking for some people to believe in them. So if you're waiting for people to come and speak positive words, probably it might take eternity. Sometimes you might find you're in quarters of people who also they look at you as this Superman. So if you're waiting anyone to come from them, then they're telling you, you know what, I have nothing to tell you. So you need to learn to encourage yourself. You need to learn how to hold yourself. You need to learn how to speak that thing that you want to have it. Tonight, underline this, that your future is a creation of your words. Start speaking positive words and you realize how much you can be able. Have you ever realized people will always write their business names that either they believe in those names, either they believe when they see that name, it becomes a motivation. They believe that you'll get people saying Emmanuel because they believe there's God with us. So he believed that this is business, is God who brought it for me. So the same thing happens when you have a certain cliche that you believe in, then you speak it to you. It's able to generate some fuel within you and is able to fire you up to be able to deal with that limitation that has come your way. If you can work on those two inner limitations, then I'm telling you, the next one that you're going to talk, which is, outward, you'll be able to deal with it, swiftly and easily. Now, limitation number 3 that you need to make sure that you're able to break and you're able to advance is limitation that, it's men. I would say the men and the environment and the society, measures and the standard they have kept for you, or they have kept for me, or they have placed over me, or they have placed over you. That people will be able to put certain limitations. Actually, you'll realize there's certain people will tell you, we know you can never go beyond this. Some even could be family members. They have spoken these words to you. They have shown you in all evidence. They have shown you in all cause that you can never break beyond this. Their friends, they know you can never go beyond this. And sometimes we have gotten to a place of, falling back to our cocoons, falling back to our cages and caves, and believe that's who we are. That's why I always tell people, have friends who can challenge you. You never break any limit with the people who don't believe in you. If they tell you you are done, I'm telling you, there's sometimes when that place of speaking to the self, it get to a place and you feel like it's not making sense. At that particular moment, if you're broken, and then you have other society, another family, another environment that is more broken than you are, then what can happen? Brokenness can never produce life. So at that particular moment, you need to understand, if you're broken, then you meet another broken people. What will happen? It's a concussion of frustration, brokenness, and a meaningless life, and it gets there. So if you can be able to overcome the external pressure that comes from friends, certain kind of things they have limited. They have told you cannot do this kind of a business if you don't have certain qualifications. There are certain things have been placed towards certain people. There are certain things are reservable for certain group, and it has been shown like no one can ever go beyond that territory. No one can ever venture into that territory. Overcoming that overcoming that limitation and rising above that limitation, it is not easy, but it's a reality. You'll go to families and you'll hear there's certain things they don't do in that family. So if you don't understand how to navigate and to arise above that limitation, either in a family setup, either in a society setup, then you realize you're living beyond your worth. You're living below your value. You're living beyond your capability. Why? Because there is a certain way the society have driven. For example, you realize if you're in a certain village, we were told if you don't score well in academics, if you score a grade D or a D minor or an E, it's like your life is doomed. You are counted as a failure in life. And every time probably they're looking at success, they will never put you into people who are going to succeed. Why? Because they believe in a certain family, in a certain culture, that if you don't make it in academic, then your life, it's doomed. But who said You can be able to arise above that. I've seen people that have, we have shared, and they're like, you know what? Me, I gave up with life because me, I brought up with in a family that they showed me I'm nothing. They spoke to me like I'm nothing, and I decided to be nothing. If you don't have that self-me meeting, when you tell yourself, you know what? I'm not people's, idea. I'm God's idea. They still have their opinion and it is right, but I know I can rise above this limitation. They're actually human beings who put this limitation, but they have nothing to do with your future. They cannot control your future. They cannot determine your future. You have the ability to determine your future. You could go through a challenge, but that challenge, after you have overcome it, after you are done with it, you'll stand. So don't limit yourself because of what they told you. Don't limit yourself because of what your teacher told you. Don't limit yourself because of what your friends told you. You need to arise above that limitation. That was them, based on that particular moment. But time and chance has happened, has moved. And if you allowed yourself to move without stagnation, I'm telling you, I always say this, that when we have 6 people and all of them, they're determined to move, they might not reach at the same time, but all of them, if they are positive and they believe themselves, they will, at the end of the day, they will not be where they started. Some will run in this life, some will fly in this life, some will walk in this life, some will crawl in this life, but at the end of the day, some will fly, some will drive. But at the end of the day, believe you me, by the end of the day, all of them, those who flew, those who drove, those who ran, those who walked, and those who crawled, at the end of the day, by the time that dark is coming, they have made progress in life. It could not be the same, but the point is, they have moved. It doesn't matter how slow you are, but at the end of the day, you're moving. Overcoming those limitations, rising above those limitations, it is not miracle. It is not, it's not like lightning that happens, a snap of a finger, you're like this. No, they are small babies that we make without giving up, persistent and consistent, that will wear out resistance. That can only happen when you realize people will throw everything to you. It is okay, because they say this, if you cannot control what people throw to you, then you have the ability to control how to react to it. You and I, we might not control what our friends are going to say about us, but we have the ability to control how to react to it. Okay? Good. Let me recognize those who have joined us as we were moving on. I want to recognize Tabitha, thank you for coming in. God bless you. Thank you. We really appreciate you for taking your time and joining us live. I also want to appreciate John for coming in. I want to appreciate Anne for coming in. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time to make sure that we are flowing well. We don't take it for granted. We are really humbled. Thank you. So you need to understand that you're the one who have the ability to overcome that limitation, because it will be there. Number 4 limitation that you need to come, or number 2, depending either you're looking inward or outward. Number 4 or number 2 of outward limitation that you need to overcome, they are what we would call relationals, limitations. There are certain people who have been told certain relationships, whether I would call romantic relationships or formal relationship or informal relationship, whichever relationship here I'm actually speaking about relationship in general. There are certain limitations that have been placed, that because probably you're a school dropout, you cannot relate well with with a PhD holder, because you are these there are certain people you cannot relate with, which I believe it is not true. It's another limitation, it's another block that has been placed there. And you need to understand, as much as in the relationship are based on common objective, but also they are based on common values, common characters. There are things that within two human beings who believe in a certain value, that which are inward built, what I call an inward system that has built these people, regardless of their stature in life, regardless of their achievement in life, they can still be able to have a relationship. And you need to understand that relationship, as much as you realize the relationship has, but they will do well in terms of external factors, but also their internal factor. So when I'm talking about rising, rising above this limitation in terms of relationship, has to do one with the self. And this is the place when you understand, I need to believe in myself. I need to package myself. And when I'm packaging myself, I don't package myself, looking like my past. I package myself looking to my future. Packaging yourself in the present, looking at your past, it means you're still carrying your past, and everybody needs to know how your past was. But when you're rising above these relational limitation, you're able to to disconnect yourself from your past. You're able to only have the best experience that you got, that you can use to experiment and to be able to improve your expectation. At that particular moment, you realize you can be able to associate with anybody and everybody in the society. Why? Because you have raised above those limitations that have been placed by people or by situation or by circumstances. Breaking up to be able to enjoy relationships, it means I'm not coming to any relationship as a vulnerable. And also it happened. You realize that there's certain people who went through a certain relationship and they were broken, they were frustrated. And in one way they said, me, I'll never get myself into any relationship. I will never try these things. It was never meant for us. It was meant for certain people. But at that particular moment, I would say you are allowing that limitation to decide you'll never enjoy life beyond that lane. But rising up is saying, I know I have been pushed down, I've been crushed, but I'm not done. I can be able to arise and analyze what made me reach here, what made me to come here. How can I arise again and continue beyond this block? Remember, when you're driving, you'll always get bumps. If you hit one bump, it doesn't mean you need to turn back because you have mastered the bumps behind you. Journey is not mastering your past, is mastering your future. And the only thing you can do, you can only be keen by noticing what you have done in the past, the bumps that you have hit too hard, and you have realized either you're overspeeding or probably you're not keen in the road. So the same thing happened in life. When now you are driving head on, you have realized there are things that I need to start working on and be more careful to realize I'm able to achieve this. We have a reason to call ourselves meeting and be able to say, I can arise above this limitation when it comes to relationships. Everybody. I'm doing a book, and one thing that I have realized is that there are people who have gotten into a certain cage and they have convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that they were not meant to enjoy relationship. And anytime this thing is called, they are like porcupines. They want to make sure that they protect that because they have fallen in a certain safe place. And for them to convince themselves and convince others, either they have a defensive mechanism to add that. And that's what basically happened. Limitations will always make sure you have manufactured certain coping strategies that will let you stay there and never go beyond that block. Remember limitation, the reason why limitation comes into our life, they want to write off in a certain areas. They want to make sure we cannot progress in certain, we can never be productive in certain areas. We can never be fruitful in certain areas. So what happens is their blocks will be put ahead of us. If you give in to such blocks, you'll never be productive in that area. And one area is the area of relationships. You can always call yourself a meeting and see how can I be able to be better, also be able to provide a better place for people also to enjoy relationship with me. Because remember, relationship is a two-way traffic. It's a give and take. It is a place when you're meeting other people's expectation as they meet yours. Are you ready to navigate the limitations that have been thrown to us when it comes to the area of relationships? And number 4, number 3, depending on where you're looking at it, it is the financial limitations. There are certain limitations when it comes to finances. And because of getting blocks here and there, you try to do something, nothing is coming on your way. You try to put a financial discipline and you realize you're suffering so much. Then you realize this block has been too much for me. And at that particular moment, what you do, you tell yourself, you know what, me, I'll just live as life is it. Money, it's evil. Money is for other people. Even people will get to a place of convincing themselves and say, hapa duniani si tunapita, tukifika mbinguni tutapata mali, feather and half ziko kule mbinguni, gold and silver. But sometimes the way I have said, we have coined certain coping, I would call them temporary safe coping strategies, so that we don't want to face that limitation. And you see, anything that you want in life, you must be either not struggle, but you must be very serious and intentional going for it. Any territory, whether it's financial territory, whether it's relationship territory, whether business territorials, those territories that you want to occupy, my friend, my sister, I want to tell you, they are not vacant. There are people there. There is no any day. I love when people, they say nimeamka kutafuta pesa, but natafuta kitu imetupwa. So you can only search for something that was lost. So when you're going to look for money, if that you ni kutafuta, then you realize utatafuta na utakosa. But when you're intentional that I'm getting up and I'll make sure I'll do everything that I need to do, by the end of the evening, I need something in my pocket. So there are limitations that have been there when it comes to finances. And I would say some are personal, some are external. There are people who have always, they work, by the time wanafika mwisho wa mwezi, someone doesn't pay them. They quit that job, they go to another. By the time they're doing a 2 months, ule msana mlipa the way they want. So you find you're always having certain limitation. There are things you never enjoy in life. There are things you feel like, man, they were not meant for me. There are certain estates that were not meant for me. There are certain clothes that were not meant for me. Because the limitation, the finances have put a certain limitation that you'll never enjoy these things, that you'll never get into those things. And at that particular moment, when you don't realize it's a limitation has come your way, then you'll not be able to handle it. And what you do, you'll call yourself and get into the shell and sleep there and say, you know what, this is how I was meant to live this life. This is how I was created to enjoy life. Na mimi niko tu sawa. The moment si uko sawa, because this is just a seasonal limitation that you can overcome. It's a seasonal thing that you can deal with. And the best way to deal with it is not give in to that limitation. Don't give in to that limitation. It could be huge, anonymous looking at it. Feeling it, you're wondering how you're going to deal with it tonight. But you know what? It's just a limitation. You can overcome financial limitations. One, by understanding, why am I going through these patterns of having and lacking? Is it that either I'm earning less and spending more, or probably I don't have a financial management system, or probably I spend more than what I earn? You're able to overcome any limitation by first accepting the limitation, and after accepting the limitation, sit down and be able to write it down, and also write the possible solution that you think you can be able to deal with. Because every problem coming your way, I want to tell you, solution was deposited before the problem. Before that challenge faced your life, you had already a solution in you. So the point was for you to realize it will scare you, but please don't stay in that place of being scared. Arise and ask yourself, what am I going to put down to overcome these limitations? Because they are there. I hope I'm clear on that if you want to break in financial limitations, you can only accept, I've been here, and these are the things that I've done. They could also be what would called bad manners in terms of financial literacy. The place when you have no clear tracking systems on how your finance comes in and how you deal with it. It will always help you. Remember, any limitation that comes into your life, either you contributed to it or it faced you by lack of preparation. I think I can come again. There are limitations that comes into our life, either because we contributed towards them or because we lacked clear plans to deal with these limitations as they will come in life. Because I said, at one given period, at any given time in our life, we'll be faced by one challenge or another. There is an obstacle, there is a certain limitation will come. And that limitation that will come, most of the time, we have the ability to deal with it when we don't see it from negative. Majority of us, we always attack life from a negative point of view. Everything will hit you. I know, because of there's a certain mechanism within us that will always try to react to everything in a negative manner, trying to create a safe place for yourself before you're able to know what is this thing going to do to me. So you're trying as many as you can so that you don't trade your safe place. And sometimes it is not always the best way of dealing with challenges. Sometimes we need to face them positively. It's not easy, but it could be one of the best way of dealing with it. Now, in summary, as we look at challenges of arising above limitation, I'll say 4 things very fast. That you'll never overcome something that you have given into. You'll never overcome any fear if you have given into it. If you entertain any fear within your mind, within your heart, and within yourself, if you entertain a certain limitation, if you dance to the tune of limitation, if you believe and you be able to build a song or create a song towards that. The people who have entertained certain ways of doing things, and they're like, mimi nilifika tu hapa, mimi nilijaza mitakanga tu hapa, stakagi story mingi. If that thing you have given into, it doesn't matter how small or how big is it, you'll never overcome to it, because it has come part of you, and anything that has become part of you, it has a share. And you see, every time you're talking about shareholding, it means that you will always consult that fear when you want to progress. It's like you have to agree with the fear. And most of the time, that thing that has come into your life, most of the time, it creates a certain comfort zone that you never deal with it. So tonight, see those things that you have given into, and they're not right. They're not making you better. They have convinced otherwise. They have limited your capacity, and start dealing with them one by one. You can pack them one by one and let them live your life. Create space for newness. Create space for something great. Create space for you to for your ability to manifest. But as long as you have given into that fear, you have given into that limitation, it will be hard for you to overcome it. So make sure you're not dealing with something that you have already given the best seat of your life, because it will be hard for you to deal with it. Number 2, that is very key. You must believe you have the strength and the ability to overcome that limitation. No one will ever push you. They say you can take a cow to the river, but you never force that cow to take water. Sometimes we might tell you how good you are, but until you wake up in the morning, take yourself to a bathroom, take a shower, dress well, walk out, we'll never do this for you. Even if we do all these things, we'll never speak on your behalf. We'll never do it on your behalf. You never do it for myself. Sometimes I feel like, man, I don't want to come for this show, but I will encourage myself because no one will do it for me. You have to believe in yourself that you can do it. You can climb that mountain. You can go down that valley and pick what you want down there. You have to believe in yourself. You have to convince yourself there is no one in this life that can be able to do it for you. You're the only person that can overcome that limitation. You yourself, myself. There is no option B. The only option you have, you're the only person who can sit on that driver's seat, on the driver's seat. Because this life, you cannot have 2 drivers in your life. You're the only driver. So kwenye ulifungia gari 2020, please go look where you left your car and get in and encourage yourself. It will take you time, but please understand, overcoming that limitation, you have stayed there for 10 years, for 20 years, you're the only person who will go back there and be able to tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to make it. And you will. You and I have the ability, and I've said time and again, we can become the best we want. We can be the best version of ourselves, because the best competition we have is the competition within ourselves. So believe in yourself that it's possible. And number 3, and very clear for us, as we're overcoming these obstacles and these limitations that have been there and those circumstances, it is good to understand it is not overnight. Life is a process. Life is not instant. Some of us want to, create a newness, create a certain life within a snap of a finger. Some of us are in that place when we are living a wishful thinking, a wishful life, and we are not real to the things that are happening. That I know life is a process, so I'm not fearing to make those baby steps. I'm not fearing to try. I'm not fearing to do something that at the end will amount to something else. It could not be easy as it says. It could not be as easy as you're hearing it from me. But you know what? That place of believing and action. You know, when you believe, then process is an action. So you take an action. And you'll never know how much you believe in yourself until you put yourself into action. You'll never know how much you can overcome until you get to a place of doing. That limitation that is there, you can only deal with it by knowing it will not be a one-day thing, it might not be a 2 months thing, it might not be a 4 months thing, it might not be a whole year thing, but I'm very positive towards this process. I'm very positive and I'm very consistent and I'm very resilient, and I know I will give a testimony. Remember we said last week, great stories were meant in the place of fear, in the place of overcoming limitation, in the place of overcoming obstacles. Show me one man who made a great history in their comfort life. They were challenged, and that way it became a testimony. That way became history, because they were pushed to the wall, but they invented something from that wall. You can only invent something when you're faced by a challenge. Anything, when someone invented a cup because they were looking for something to drink water. Everything that you see that you are using today is because someone was faced with a challenge and they invented something. When you are faced with a challenge in your life, that is the only time you can go to a factory and manufacture something very new. It is a process. It is not an easy one. It is not a sweet one sometimes. Sometimes you wonder, is this my life or someone's life? And you feel like, man, me, I want to lift up my hands and give up. But at the end of the day, you and I must make it in life. So make sure that understand life is a process. Sometimes it is not as fast as we want, but as we say, slow but sure. Are we together? And finally, number 4, that when we are navigating and rising up above limitation and we have understood our process, then it's good to understand that failure will face us. But when failure comes, even that moment, you can decide, I'll start doing something tomorrow, something that you have not done in your life. And when you start doing it, you feel like, no, this was not for me. And you mess terribly. You feel like, no, I wish I didn't do this. That moment you have failed, it is a confirmation. Now you have started doing something. When you have been hit, then it means you're in a battlefield. And battles are not won on the couches. Battles are won in battlefields. And that place when you don't allow yourself failure to define you. That place when you realize that, you know what, I wanted to deal with the messes of finance in my life, but I feel like I'm failing. Please don't entertain failure. It is confirming to you you're doing something. No one has ever failed. No one ever in this life ever failed without trying. You can only fail when you try. You can only fail when you want to overcome that limitation and that fear that always packages itself as the end of our life. And tonight, you can sit down and see which area of your life you're facing limitations and how did you get yourself there and how are you going to come out of it. There is a huge and great wisdom that we have shared tonight that can help you, that you can rewind and watch this video and be able to put your life in perspective. We are cut for greatness and we can rise to anything. But devil knows what he does. He will throw limitations and he'll make sure you never go beyond this bar. Either through making sure you become your own obstacle or throwing other people in your life to become an obstacle. If not you, other people. And that will always be the case. Know a certain time that life was enjoyed in the comfort, and comfort come after you have won. And that's what we are doing tonight. And when you won one, there is something else is waiting. When you win one, there is another waiting to maintain what you have. So life have different phases of pushing and pushing, and you have to push until something happens. I hope I have been a blessing to someone tonight. Thank you for all those people who have come in and they have taken their time. Thank you, Nyambura Wawero, for coming in. God bless you. Thank you, Jane Duta. You are saying that nugget of wisdom. Thanks a lot. Yes, you have said that sacrifice we make, the sacrifice we make, the discomfort we endure, the patience we cultivate, the habit we adopt, and the little choices we make every day that make all the difference. And that is true. It is not easy to maneuver this life, because as we said, there must be, I said either you're pushing something or something is pushing you. All along, you'll always find yourself in the midst of things. But don't allow those things define you. Don't allow those things give you the final verdict. You have the power, you have the tenacity, you have the wisdom and the information to be able to turn around. We can turn around our life. We can write a better story about ourselves. We can do a better story about ourselves when we don't give up. It is always nice when we have had that moment of telling ourselves, I'm coming back again with a bang. So thank you so much, guys. God bless you for that opportunity. Continue sharing this link. Continue dropping your text there, message of encouragement where we think we can be able to improve, because we believe we are family and we are partners. You are there to encourage us and we're here to encourage you. So let's walk this journey together, and we want to say thank you for all those people who have taken their time in the month of September. It has come to an end, because the next show, I'm very sure, I'll be doing it in the month of October, and we were always happy for all those people who have always been consistent following us. We don't take it for granted. We appreciate you so much. Continue praying for us as we pray for you, that every day we'll always be making this show better. So thank you so much. God bless you. Until next week, shalom, shalom.